Greetings to you, bright stars. Welcome to 8th House Alchemy. I am Betula Betty, and this is my podcast, 8th House Alchemy. So I just wanted to make a video to introduce myself and introduce this platform. It's been something that I am so passionate about. I initially thought that this was going to be something where I was going to talk about feng shui and how to change your life, transform your life, using the magical and age-old practice of feng shui. And I had a astrological reading for my family. I have 2 children and 1 partner, and it absolutely changed my life. It absolutely transported me back and forward, and I didn't know it, but I was caught hook, line, and sinker. From that day forward, I never stopped reading or listening or searching out the knowledge, the wisdom of astrology. I got started with podcasts, just listening to podcasts about different astrological aspects and planets. And if you look out there and search for yourself on where to get started with your own natal chart, there are so many amazing resources, people, instruction. There's so much out there, and I feel like what a time to be alive. You can literally pull up your birth chart in a matter of seconds for free, in color, and all the transits, everything is on the report. It's a beautiful thing. It's really so impactful and so full of amazing morsels of just wisdom and direction. So I would like to say a thank you at this point. There's so many people that helped me along the way. First and foremost, Jess Anderson. I received a reading from her. She was the lady that did the synergistic reading for my family. So she did a birth chart for each one of my children, for my partner, and myself. And then we started with mine, and then went to my children's, and then my husband, and she showed kind of a graph of all the elements: water, air, earth, fire, and how we tallied up as a family, what we were strong in, what we lacked. My husband travels 2 weeks out of the month, every single month. And so a lot of the time it's myself and the boys. And so I got to look at what that elementally is like, what we have a lot of, what we're lacking, just to get different ideas of ways to balance out, even just with the elements when my husband's gone and when he's home. And for me, what was so incredible and life-changing was actually making eye contact with the chart. It was returning to the circle, and the circle is where the medicine started. The circle is where the drum started. And historically, women were called to the circle when there was something, a big decision that needed to be made, or someone that needed to be healed, or, if they were going to go into battle, if they were going to move their camp, if they were going to hunt, and so many more things. And so the women were called to the circle, and we were the medicine bringers, and we were the message bringers, and we were the portal through which creativity and wisdom arrived. And it was powerful for me to look at, if you've never actually looked at your birth chart, There's all sorts of apps out there now that will tell you the breakdown of your chart, but none will actually show you your chart. None that I know of as of yet. Plus, astrology can only be used for entertainment purposes. I should say that, and I will continue to say that. Or else YouTube will probably remove my platform. But it's powerful to connect the iris, the eye, with the circle. We have so many angles and squares, and our homes are mostly built in structures involving 90 degrees. Saturnian structures, basically. And I just think it's really powerful to come back to the circle. Coincidentally, when I was studying feng shui, came to understand one of my dreams is to live in a yurt. I just love living, thriving, exercising, exploring in the circle. And coincidentally, with feng shui, the circle is the perfect bagua. It is the ideal bagua. It incorporates all the areas of the feng shui bagua. And so the circle's always been calling me back. And I met Jess Anderson. By the way, her site is called Mama Bear Milky Way Astrology. And to my knowledge, she is still doing readings, and I highly recommend her. She is incredible, incredible. And to continue on with my gratitude list, Amanda Pua Walsh and her platform, Astrology Hub, has been life-changing, has been a home away from home, a place of rest, of discovery, exploration, humor, incredible insight during this time in the world. And the people, the astrologers that she brings onto her platform, I feel like they're so powerful. There have been a lot that I've had to really study to catch up on, not the lingo, but just really get a firm foundation in things so that I can actually listen to some of these astrologers and understand what they're saying. One of those is Rick Levine. Thank you, Rick Levine. Thank you, Amanda Pua Walsh and Rick Levine, for all of your beautiful sessions together. You have impacted me so greatly, and I'm so grateful to be alive at this time, to be able to find you and learn with your platform. They've done some amazing classes too. They do ongoing classes. Astrology Hub is just an incredible place, and I highly recommend it. If you have found my podcast somehow and are exploring astrology and don't know about Astrology Hub, go check it out. Follow your heart, follow your gut, see where you're guided, and I would listen to Rick Levine and Amanda Pua Walsh. Maybe next I would say Christopher Renstrom. Christopher Renstrom, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't say enough. I am brought to tears every time I hear you speak, and I am so grateful for your recent book. It's so cool to be able to listen to you on Audible, to be able to turn you and your wisdom and your voice on and just have a jolly good time with you. Thank you for Christopher Renstrom. Thank you, Gemini Brett. Thank you, Joe G. You have been so impactful in my life. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you are doing and paving the way on this bright path of astrology. Thank you. I also want to say thank you to Janine Morageau, to Jean-Claude, to Ashley Sage, to Kristen Bryan, to David Nino Rodriguez, just to name a few. There are so many more, but You have been such an inspiration to me. You have been a voice of wisdom and reason and truth. And thank you for your courage. Thank you for your authenticity, for just showing up as you are and being the bright star that you are. I can't thank you enough, but hopefully this is a start. So yeah, shortly after I had my first astrological reading, it was about 5 months after that reading, is when the pandemic of fear began, and came to find out that the first announcement of the first infection, or the first exposure from the Wuhan lab, happened right on the first Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And I was like, weird. I mean, I'd been looking into so many of the synchronicities in my own natal chart, but I hadn't applied it to the fact that you can look at the history of the world, really. You can look up any date and find the natal chart for that date and look up what was going on in the celestial bodies. And that just really, really sunk in, that like Saturn and Pluto had this conjunction, and it was the same day that the pandemic of fear was announced. I had just been to this event up in Anchorage. I live in Alaska, by the way, and that's a big theme in my podcast. I'll be talking a lot about Alaska, so you can look forward to that. But the Whole Life Festival is just a conglomeration of beautiful spiritual healers and practitioners coming together. They give classes. They have vendors set up on site, and I love the community that's there, and I love the classes. They're always different and always so immensely powerful. So right around the end, I think it was the last day, we were waiting on a speaker that was running late, and there was a gentleman that just stood up and kind of filled up the space a little bit, and he said, there's something that's coming. There's something that is being announced and reported as a pandemic. And he just said, this is all, they're gonna say this, they're gonna say that, they're gonna talk about it being a deadly virus, and just know that more than anything, this is a grab for your faith. Because if you are living in fear, you are very, very easy to control. And so what is about to happen is all about making you scared. So whatever you do, don't play into the fear, and stay healthy, and keep going outside. And I don't remember his exact words. I just remember it blowing me away and really making an impression. And he talked about Tesla, that it had a lot to do with Tesla and his technologies. And so he was like, really look into that, look into the 369. Such an interesting man, and I can see him in my mind's eye. And if he ever sees this, I hope you know how grateful I am for what you shared with us, because it really stayed with me. After that weekend, everything shut down in Anchorage. I was with my children, and I stayed up in Anchorage with one of my children. My husband went back down to the Kenai Peninsula where we live with one of our children, and we were both kind of just reporting back and forth what we were seeing and experiencing. And it was wild to see everything just literally shut down. Everything but the big stores, which I thought was really weird. Like Sportsman's Warehouse and Cabela's was open, normal hours, had to wear a face diaper, but Target was open, Costco was open, I don't know, Michael's was open. It's like, I was glad, but I just thought it was weird. I thought it was really odd. Like something is going on here. Like everybody has to shut down, but the corporate stores stay open. The hunting stores in the middle of the winter. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not a hunter myself. I have not ventured out to do that. So I can't say for sure how active hunters are in the middle of winter, but I just thought it was really weird. So, and then as time proceeded, it just got more like almost predictable with the astrology. I kept learning about all the aspects that were taking place and taking form in the heavens, and I was like, it's almost like this is planned. Weird. And then looking into the history of Saturn and Pluto and their relationship and what happens when they come together, which they do every 100 years. They have a conjunction and an opposition and all sorts of squares and sesqui-squares that make just difficult aspects. And usually there's some sort of destruction that happens and some kind of construction that happens with some pretty significant adjustments. And you can kind of trace that over history. And I'm pretty sure we're living through one of those right now. We also have the U.S. Pluto return, which I think is not just the U.S. Pluto return. It's impacting everyone. It will impact the world. It is impacting the world, as we can see. But it's not an exact thing. Pluto is the furthest planet from us and takes about 248 years to make a full revolution. So just super interesting that we're living in a time that we get to witness this powerful return of the Lord of the Underworld, the true phoenix rising from the ashes. And the only way they can rise from the ashes is to get burned and to have a transformation, complete metamorphosis, which is, I think, what we are in the midst of. And we haven't seen yet these huge structures because Pluto is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is all about the government and corporate structures and things being built from the bottom all the way up to the tippy top. And Pluto's coming to revisit those structures to say, are they sound? Are they serving the people as it heads into Aquarius? And I just think there's no way that any of these arcane, greedy systems can survive this Pluto return. I just don't think it's survivable for them. We will survive, we will continue on, but just what a time to be alive and witness what's going on in the world and this incredible transformation, incredible metamorphosis. Nothing will be the same. nothing. And we get to be alive at this time. I mean, there's no mistake about that. There's no taking that lightly. It's pretty incredible. So, yeah, astrology has been the connector. It's like I've always, my whole life, been playing connect the dots. I've always been a spiritual seeker. I was raised Episcopalian in Denver, Colorado, in Golden, Colorado, actually, and a like very strict Episcopalian, to where I never really questioned it till I was probably around my 18th birthday and starting school at this tiny little women's school in the middle of Nevada, Missouri. And I just delved into my education like I never had before. I got super nerdy about history and about foreign languages. I studied German. I had studied French in high school for 6 years, or from 7th grade on. My brothers had always, well, one of my brothers had studied German and would speak German, and I just thought it was funny. It just sounded so cool and funny, and I wanted to be able to talk to him. So I started taking German when I was at this school, and then I started taking a private study in Latin, just to delve into the roots of all the Romantic languages. And that was pretty cool to be able to integrate that into the Western civilization, or the history of Western civilization that I was studying, and how linguistics and etymology had such an influence on things, and how they came together and would explain some pretty profound concepts. But yeah, that's when I started to question my upbringing in the church, but with real caution, because I was so indoctrinated. I thought I was going to be punished. I thought something bad would happen to me, but I just knew there was something bigger. I knew there was a bigger picture, and I really wanted to tap into that. So yeah, I studied history. I thought I was going to be a history teacher. And the school at the time, this college was only a 2-year college. It was kind of a prep college to get you ready for the rest of your education, but to give you a really firm foundation in the basics and all the prerequisites that you needed to transfer into any university at that point. And I thought I was going to study history, and I got a scholarship to go study in Prague. And when it came down to it, I had applied to St. Charles University in Prague as an international student, and it was so expensive. It was so expensive. So it's like, okay, how to reel this in and find a way. So I transferred back to Denver and enrolled at the University of Denver, Colorado, and got onto their foreign exchange program and went and studied in Germany, and finished out my degree in German. So, and I was one of the last. After I graduated, they removed the German, or they very much minimized the German department, and they made it to where you couldn't major in German anymore. So, but that was another time of just connecting the dots, finding the dots and finding ways to connect them. And through my education in German, I discovered Joseph Campbell, who is, if you don't know, one of the great mythologists of our time. There are a really great handful of videos that Joseph Campbell did with Bill Moyers, and just talking about the hero's journey and talking about traveling the world and connecting all of the creation stories, connecting biblical texts and gospels and rituals and just really, really powerful stuff that I could really sink my teeth into. And the dots just continued to show themselves and connect, and it was just amazing. So I was really into that, and I was really, really into exploring spirituality, and then life happened in all sorts of ways, and I ended up moving up to Alaska and becoming a mother, which is a huge part of my awakening. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's the most beautiful gift ever to be a mother, to experience pregnancy and childbirth in all of its beauty and its struggle. I mean, it literally is like a ring of fire. You experience a ring of fire. And the 8th house is all about the scorpionic journey from the lower realms up to the phoenix, who can only be born from the ashes and the fire. And so I feel like motherhood is very, very scorpionic, very 8th house themed. So you're going to hear a lot about my reflections on motherhood and childbirth and things like that, because I think it has everything to do with the 8th house, at least in my life and my journey. And so that's kind of where this whole podcast came into being. The next person I'd like to thank is Natalia Benson. Natalia Benson has her own podcast, and I discovered her, I think, just searching like how to research your natal chart or something, and she had a bunch of different free classes at the time. One was all about Venus and Mars and just exploring that in your chart, identifying the glyph and the location of the glyph and the sign that it's in, and just really deep diving into that, because Venus reflects so much of what you value, what you love, where you find beauty and meaning, and Mars is representative of how you pursue that, how you go after that, how you get it, how you fight for it, and so many other beautiful things as well. Natalia Benson said, when you're stuck, do your Mars. So if you don't know what your Mars is and you feel stuck, then that's a place to start to unstuck yourself, empower yourself, connect with the god of war, who was an initiator, a headstrong warrior, and fighting for something that either he believed in or loved passionately. So yeah, I just celebrated my 44th birthday. I am a Libra, but I've very much been confused about that for most of my life. When I would read sun sign astrology, which most astrology is, and it's just such a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of the puzzle, tiny, even though it is the sun. when I glimpsed my chart for the first time and saw that I had not one, not two, but 3 planets in Scorpio in the 8th house, something just washed over me. It was huge validation, because I'd had some really dark things in my childhood that I thought I'd never speak about. I thought I would never really pay any attention to. But things were happening in my body and in my life that were trying to get my attention to help me put some awareness on that and change it. Bring some healing to it, bring some attention and loving awareness. And so studying my natal chart really illuminated that. And that's where I got my whole idea for 8th House Alchemy. And Natalia Benson, I thank you for that as well, because I enrolled in her Jupiter Club class that was about 3, almost 4 months long, back in 2020. And it was all about starting your own thing. And that's where the whole design came for my backdrop here, for my logo, and just all of my intention around creating a podcast and a place to be creative in all of the things that I've learned, share my experiences, and just reduce the amount of consumption and really boost creativity. I wanted to create more than I was consuming. And so this has been 2 years in the making. I've been wanting to do this for 2 years, and there was a lot that I needed to learn, a lot around boundaries. There were a lot of people that are not part of my life anymore that I thought were dear to me and my heart. And this time of intense transformation has proven that it was right for me to move along solo, and let go of trying to connect with or meet people halfway that were not interested. They wanted me to come all to them. And I've done that for most of my life. And this time really showed me that that can't be anymore. As a mother, you're stretched in every direction and just don't have time for drama and bullshit. And anyway, it's been real interesting since I wanted to start this, and shine light on the hidden things of the 8th house, all themes of the 8th house. I literally uncovered a situation in our old neighborhood where there was some super shady activity going on with children. And I was warned that if I proceeded down this path, that I would be a target, and they wouldn't come after me. They would come after what was most precious to me. And by golly, they did. They did. So I needed this time to learn how to protect myself, to have good boundaries, and, you know, to learn before you try and charge into the world and change things. You got to look at yourself first. You got to look at yourself and do the work, do some healing. And I can't think of any other tool than astrology that is so profoundly deep and just meaningful and impactful and life-changing in working on yourself, in discovering yourself, because we don't always love what we don't understand. And life can go on and on and on. And with all the things that we do, we don't understand ourselves. We don't understand our motivations. Maybe we don't understand our communication style or what our purpose is here for. And astrology literally will illuminate that. It shows you where you really need healing. It shows you where you'll be helpful to others. I think, yes, it can be used for some prediction, but more than anything, it's validation. It's a tool for deep validation of your past, how you were raised, your parents, your family, your siblings, your friends, your education, your first type of job, your talents, your purpose, your vocational purpose, as well as your just kind of the theme of your life, where you're headed, where you're pointed, I guess. And I was thinking about it today, like, you don't have to have a tool to remove a nail from a piece of wood, but by golly, to have a fulcrum to pull that that nail out makes all the difference. That little tool on the back of a hammer, it's amazing. There are lots of things that you could do without a tool, but the right tool makes all the difference. And it's just the wise thing to do when you have it, when you have access to it and knowledge of how to use it. And I think astrology is just that. You don't have to believe in it. It exists regardless of whether you believe in it or not. And come to find out, the elite, including the Catholic Church, including the government, have historically, and Hollywood, have historically used astrology, and still do. I mean, if you look at all of the themes with Hellenistic mythology in Washington, D.C., like, why are there so many structures and statues built around the Hellenistic gods? And the placement of those structures is instrumental in aligning with celestial bodies. So it's pretty mind-blowing that astrology is right there, right in front of us, all around, in history, in the Catholic Church, which all religions, or not religions, but every kind of church has been a branch of the Catholic Church. It all started with them. And they have historically employed more astrologers than any other religious institution in the world. So, but they don't tell you that. They don't wave that in your face. They don't make that readily available. In fact, they still really poo-poo and hush-hush a lot of things around astrology. So I'm here to blow it wide open, share everything that I know, and like I said, shine a light of awareness on things that are hidden in our world, in our psyche, in our lives, in our bodies. It is my passion to be here to serve and to help us move forward, to help myself move forward in this transformation, in this amazing time that we get to live in. And yeah, I want to explain I have a Yeti in the middle of my circle here, and Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, however you want to call these beautiful beings, I truly believe they are of the hidden world. We don't see them in this 3D world which we exist in. We can tap into the dimension where they live, but they are interdimensional. They don't reside on this plane where we live, and you have to be tapped into the frequencies of the outdoors, the trees, the plants, the mushrooms, the animals. I got started with hiking 14ers when I was 13 years old. And before I left Colorado, I think I was up to 18. There's so many, so there's more calling my name, but I climbed 18 14ers, some of those solo, and it really, really changed my life. It connected me with the God that I had always heard about in church. I felt this God for the first time, and it brought me to my knees in tears. It was so incredibly powerful, and something I didn't share with a lot of people. Like I said, I hiked a lot by myself. And in the theme of hidden things, I want to talk about Bigfoot, but I also want to be discreet because in the tradition of these beautiful beings, they're not really to be spoken about. They're not really to be pointed at and even put on film. I believe it's bad luck. I believe it's something that can be communicated and shared symbolically, but the more we try and pull these beings from the higher realms into the 3D and pin them down in words, it will backfire. I can say I have definitely experienced Bigfoot in Colorado and Alaska, and it really is beyond words. It's absolutely beyond words. It's magical, mystical, pure love. And so I do believe the outdoors are incredibly healing to us and raise our frequency instantly. Why do I call myself Betula Betty? Betula is the scientific word for birch trees, and I love birch trees. I grew up with a birch tree in my backyard in Colorado. I always loved it. I'd go out and hug it and smell it and just study its leaves and sit under it and collect its leaves when it was fall time. And when I moved to Alaska, I was just like out of this world to find out that they grow in forests here, like in the wild. They grow everywhere. They're not our state tree, but they could be. They definitely could be. I think we have, I don't know, NPR did a segment on birch trees in Alaska, and we do, I don't know, have a special concentration of them here, and lots of varieties. White birch, silver birch, Copper River birch. Oh gosh, there's male and female birch trees, which you can definitely tell the difference. You can see the female form in the female birch trees. But they're just absolutely incredible all year round, perhaps mostly in the wintertime, when you can see their bare form and all the mushrooms, the varieties of mushrooms that grow on them, and the way you can observe where they've been broken or split by lightning or some kind of force of nature, or a limb has become too heavy and broken off or something, and you see the new growth coming out of those areas of death and just like creating another tree almost entirely. I've found some old birch trees that, you know, three of me couldn't fit our arms around these beauties. But they just move me. They're just absolutely incredible and lovely, and they're kind of what led my curiosity into the woods in Alaska. I spent a lot of time by myself in Colorado, hiking and fly fishing and camping and just exploring, and I was very comfortable with that. Alaska was much different and like totally wild. Like we don't have a lot of trails. We don't have a lot of roads. So we don't have a lot of roads to trails. But where it came to be in Colorado that you'd get to a trail